Welcome back to Room 44, where the shadows crawl a little closer the longer you listen. Tonight's account isn't folklore, and it isn't an urban legend recycled through message boards. It was sent to us by a listener who swears every moment is true. Turn down the lights, double-check the lock on your bedroom door, and keep one ear open for the sound of breathing that isn't yours. This is the story of the thing that watched me sleep for 7 nights. Night 1. I'd lived alone in my top-floor Manchester studio for 6 quiet months. The building was a converted Victorian terrace, high ceilings, tall windows, creaky pine floors. Cozy in the daylight, cavernous after midnight. Monday, 2nd November, rain hammered the slate roof while I marked student essays. At 12:42 a.m., I crawled into bed, phone on silent, mind on autopilot. Sometime later, a thread of icy air slid across my right ankle, so sharp it snapped me awake. I raised the duvet, half expecting a draft from the window. Everything lay still. The sash was shut. The radiator hissed gentle warmth. I tried to laugh it off, phantom nerve twitch maybe, but the laughter caught in my throat when I noticed the wardrobe door. I always shut it flush. Now it stood open a crack, just wide enough to persuade shadows into strange shapes. I told myself I must have left it ajar, swung out of bed, pushed it closed, and returned to the covers. Sleep eventually returned, but it felt thinner, as if an invisible weight pressed the mattress beside me. Night 2. Tuesday evening, I dumped my keys in the ceramic bowl by the door, microwaved leftovers, and binge-watched a cooking show. When the host drizzled caramel at 1:07 a.m., I yawned, shut the laptop, and headed to bed. Dawn dragged me awake. I reached for the keys. Gone. The bowl was empty. A confusing 2-minute search ended with the keys resting on the kitchen counter beside an unopened packet of pasta. I hadn't touched either. Annoyance became unease. I tested the locks, front door secure, windows latched. Maybe I was absent-minded, or maybe the flat had begun rearranging itself. That night I drifted off facing the wardrobe, willing it to stay shut. At 3:19 a.m., a soft thunk, wood on wood, echoed across the room. The door had opened again, an inch this time, as though someone inside needed just a sliver. I left the bedside lamp burning till sunrise. Night 3. Wednesday, determination replaced fear. I bought a 40-pound motion-activated wildlife camera, taped it to the bookshelf, lens aimed at the wardrobe. If an intruder was playing games, I'd have proof. I worked late, returned home, showered, and fell asleep around midnight. 2 hours later, I bolted upright, gagging on a sudden stench, wet soil and rotting leaves, like someone had upended a garden bed onto the sheets. My eyes watered. In the dim light, I saw dark smudges on the floor, a trail of muddy footprints, bare, leading from the bed to the wardrobe, and ending inside. I lunged for the camera, heart slamming. Its tiny red LED blinked, indicating motion captured. Relief warred with horror. I refused to review the footage till morning. Cowardice sometimes masquerades as self-preservation. I spent the rest of the night on the sofa, lights blazing, clutching the remote like a weapon, while infomercials babbled cheerful nonsense. Night 4. Thursday morning sunlight felt medicinal. Coffee in hand, I loaded the SD card. For 5 hours, nothing moved, until 3:12 a.m. Frame 1, wardrobe closed. Frame 2, door half open, no one visible. Frame 3, a figure, tall, gaunt, skin the dry gray-brown of old clay, standing at the foot of my bed. Its face was a blur of glitchy pixels, as if the lens refused to resolve it. The figure never walked. It simply occupied new positions between frames, each time closer to the camera. Then, after 20 seconds of footage, it vanished. The wardrobe door eased shut on its own. My stomach iced over. I called my best friend Amber. She insisted on coming that evening with pizza, moral support, and a better camera. By 11 p.m., we'd installed 2 Wi-Fi cams, one in the hallway, one in the bedroom, paired to a cloud account. Amber, ever the skeptic, taped a line of flour across the wardrobe threshold to catch footprints. We tried to laugh, but neither of us managed more than a thin smile. Amber slept on the sofa. I lay in bed staring at the blue glow of my phone feed. Midnight, 1 a.m. Then, motion detected, hallway cam. The feed showed a shape gliding down the hall. It was darker than shadow, edges rippling like smoke underwater. It reached my bedroom door and disappeared. The live feed cut out. A split second later, the bedroom cam dropped offline. Total black. Amber's scream erupted from the living room. I dashed out. She pointed at the hallway floor. The flower line we'd scattered outside the wardrobe was now a perfect footprint. Bare, heel pointed outward, as though something had stepped from the wardrobe into our world. We grabbed our coats and sprinted down 3 flights to the street, calling the police on the way. Officers searched every inch. No intruder, no prints except ours, no forced entry. They filed a report, left us in the foyer under buzzing fluorescent lights, and suggested electrical interference might explain the camera glitch. Still listening in the dark? You're braver than most. Room 44 brings you real stories that claw under your skin and stay. Like what you hear? Tap subscribe, hit the bell, and keep the lights off, if you dare. Night 5. Friday, I phoned work, claimed a stomach bug, and spent the day digging through public archives. It didn't take long. Student disappears after Halloween party. Emma Hollis, age 21, last seen 31 October 1993. 9 articles later, body found in wardrobe. Same address, same flat. Death by dehydration, no suspect. My landlord, Mark Townsend, finally answered my 4th call. His voice deflated when I mentioned Emma. I was planning to replace that wardrobe, he muttered. Never got around to it. You should have warned me. Would you have rented the place if I had? The silence between us felt like rotten wood about to splinter. That night, Amber insisted I stay at her flat. I agreed, briefly. But around 10 p.m., obsession won. I needed one more look at that wardrobe. Needed to know. I returned alone, clutching a new high-lumens torch and a claw hammer. I pushed coats aside, tapped the back panel, found a hollow echo. 10 swings later, the panel cracked open to reveal a narrow cavity, spaces between old bricks from a long-sealed chimney line. Down near the floor lay a rusted padlock and a photograph curled with age. The Polaroid showed Emma's face, pale, terrified, inside this bedroom. On the back, in smeared pen, "She won't tell." My scalp prickled. The torch flickered. Footsteps, soft, bare, crossed the floor behind me. I spun. Empty room. But the soil smell had returned, richer now, almost wet. I backed away, dropped the hammer, and fled. Night 6. Saturday at dawn, I woke on Amber's sofa, arm numb, mouth dry. My phone pulsed with an alert. Bedroom cam online. Motion detected 0427. I opened the cloud clip. It began with my empty room, lamps off. Wardrobe door gaped wide. The camera trembled. Something had bumped the tripod. Then, from the right edge, a long arm entered the frame. Gray, cracked, fingertips caked in soil. It reached toward the lens until the view filled with blackened nail beds and stringy mud. Feed ended. New alert. Device offline. I couldn't breathe. Amber heard the gasp, saw the clip, and cursed. We debated burning the building down. Instead, we drove to the nearest hotel and booked a twin room with fluorescent corridors and 24-hour CCTV. Sleep should have come easily, surrounded by safety. But at 3 a.m., I woke to scratching, inside my ear, like a fingernail on cartilage, faint but real. I leaped from bed, slapped at my head. Nothing there. Amber woke, saw me shaking, and wrapped me in her arms like a child. "I'm calling a priest," she whispered. I didn't argue. Night 7. Sunday evening, Father O'Leary met us outside my building. He carried holy water, salt, and the weary grin of a man who'd heard too many ghost stories. Still, he believed enough to help. Inside, the flat smelled worse than ever, damp earth overlaid with sweet rot. My stomach flipped. The priest sprinkled holy water in a slow circle, reciting prayers that sounded older than the building. When he approached the wardrobe, the air grew frigid. Frost crystallized on the brass handles. O'Leary's breath puffed white. He pressed a hand to the door. A dull thud echoed from within, as if a fist had struck back. He staggered. "Whatever's here, it's tied to this." We dragged the wardrobe, heavy oak, into the hallway. O'Leary doused it in holy water and Latin. I slugged it with the claw hammer till wood splintered and the back panel tore off completely. Behind it, A cavity of crumbling brick and impossibly a tunnel descending at a steep angle, far deeper than the building's foundations. The torch beam vanished into black. A breath rolled out, cold, wet, smelling of graves turned in spring. My eyes watered. Then a voice rose from the dark. Not sound, thought injected straight into my skull. 7 nights, the doors open. The walls shook. Plaster rained. O'Leary shouted scriptures, voice cracking. Amber yanked my arm, pulling me backward. As we retreated, a shape formed in the tunnel. Broad shoulders, elongated limbs, head scraping brick as it unfolded. I hurled the torch, its beam pinwheeled, catching a single glimpse of the creature's face. Eyeless pits, skin peeling in plates, a mouth stitched shut by dirt. The wardrobe frame buckled outward. Wood screamed. We ran. Stairwell, pavement, street. Behind us, a crash like a felled tree echoed from the 3rd floor, followed by silence so profound it felt like the world had taken a breath and decided not to exhale. Fire engines arrived minutes later, called by a neighbor who'd smelled gas. No explosion, no fire, just a collapsed interior wall in flat 3. The fire chief said the wardrobe must have been load-bearing. Old houses are quirky, he joked. They boarded the place up. I never set foot inside again. I moved across the country, changed jobs, started therapy. The landlord refunded my deposit without argument. Too eager, almost relieved. I thought distance would weaken the fear. It didn't. 3 weeks later, a parcel arrived at my new address. No return label. Inside, wrapped in newspaper, lay the wildlife camera I'd abandoned. The memory card was still inserted. Curiosity defeated terror. I plugged it into my laptop. Only one new file. Timestamp 03:03 a.m. 8 November, the night after the wall collapsed. The clip showed a fire-damaged shell of a room. Smoke residue, splintered floorboards, wardrobe gone. For 30 seconds, nothing moved. Then a figure, tall gray, joints bending wrong, crawled into frame, folding up from the floor like reverse gravity. It turned toward the lens. No eyes, but I felt its gaze. It lifted one cracked hand and dragged a fingertip across the scorched floor, spelling 3 letters in ash. FOU. The clip ended. I don't know what the 4th letter was going to be. I don't want to know. Most nights I sleep with music playing, lights on. But sometimes the bulb flickers out, and in the breath of darkness that follows, I taste dirt on my tongue and hear the soft creak of a wardrobe door opening in a room that shouldn't exist anymore. 7 nights were enough to ruin a lifetime of sleep. And I'm afraid the next chapter is already being written, 1 letter at a time. Every time the shadows lengthen and the air begins to smell like rain on fresh-turned soil. You've been listening to Room 44. If this story kept you glancing at the corner of your room, tap like, hit subscribe, and share your own encounter, because true horror is best faced together. Until next time, keep one eye on the shadows. They might already be watching you.